Through you, Mr. Mayor, I do have confirmation that we are streaming, so you can begin your meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Good evening, Council, members of SLT, and members of the viewing public. Before I go any further, I would like to extend Council's apologies to the public for the lateness of the meeting starting. We had some in-house difficulties, and our IT department has now got everything up and running, so we will proceed. Starting off will be Councillor Stewart reading the land recognition statement. Councillor? Oh, you're on mute. Oh, still on mute.
It seems that we can't hear you. Can anybody else on the call hear Councillor Stewart?
Oh, okay.
Oh, everybody's nodding yes, and it is just simply those in Town Hall unable to hear. I apologize, Mr. Mayor, if you can give me a moment to ask Mike G. from IT to look into this. Thank you.
Okay, just a minute then, Councillor Stewart. We'll have to fix some audio. Thank you. Okay. Councillor Stewart, could you give us a sound check?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Can you turn up the volume?
Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
We begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples. Can you?
Oh, lost
it. And protected by the dish with one spoon wampum agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. And with Council's indulgence, before we do the approval of the agenda, just a small announcement to the town's finance department. The town of Pelham has been awarded the Canadian Award for Financial Reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada for its 2020 annual financial report submitted for consideration in 2021. I believe this is the second time that the Finance Department has won this award for the town, and perhaps Ms. Teresa Quinlan would like to comment on that, please.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is correct. It is the second time that our annual report has received this recognition, and it is our second annual report. So each one of our reports has received that. So we're very pleased to have that recognition. Thank you.
Excellent. And on behalf of council, thank you for a job well done. Thank you. Turn to the clerk, please.
Through Mr. Mayor, thank you. I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that the agenda for the March 21st, 2022 regular meeting of council be adopted. To you, Mr. Mayor, for any comment.
Thank you. Any comments on the agenda as it is? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The vote begins with Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Through you, Mr. Mayor, that brings you to your COVID-19. Oh, I apologize. This is to the disclosure of pecuniary interest.
Thank you. After viewing the agenda, is there any councillor that has a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof to declare? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have so noted, and that does bring you to the hearings of presentations. And our first one is the COVID-19 pandemic update from the fire chief.
Thank you. Chief, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the council, SLT, just a brief update. So as of today, Pelham has 158 active cases. We sit at about the midpoint in the region as far as active. We're at 3.3 cases, new cases per 10,000 population. Puts us, like I said, right in the middle of the other 12 municipalities, or the other 11 municipalities. Niagara region, 1,151 active cases, 55 new cases, 524 fatalities. Our hospital systems continue to improve and wane. In the past 28 days, there's been 26 acute admissions. ICUs have gone down 5, and there has been no change in the ventilation, the ICU and ventilators, which is a good sign. Across the province, 1.1 million total cases, 12,332 fatalities. Ontario hospitals, 551 admissions. Out of those, 182 in ICU and 97 on ventilators. Across the country, 3.4 million total cases, and we have 37,215 fatalities. Our Niagara Public Health is currently working with 8 active outbreaks. Vaccinations, Niagara, 3.1% first dose, 84.2% second dose. Ontario, 4% first dose, 86% second dose. And Canada, 3.9 first dose and 83.09%. And Ontario is doing very well as far as vaccinations. If you look at the numbers today in the United States, they're only at 65% for second dose. So we're well ahead of the rest of the group. Our positivity is to continue to declines at 17.1%. And there's been a few changes across this province and the federal government announced that testing will not be required on return coming back to Canada on trips, which is a good thing. That starts April 1st. Our mask mandate was removed today by the province. The only areas that you're required to still wear a mask, mandatory wise, is our hospitals, our vulnerable occupancies like nursing homes and long-term care homes, and our public transit. Everything else is optional. And that's about it. If there's any questions.
Okay, thank you for that report, Chief. I turn to Council. Is there any questions or comments on the Chief's report? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. The vote will begin with Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. That brings you to your next presentation for COVID, and that's from your acting CAO, Ms. Teresa Quinlan Murphy.
And Ms. Quinlan Murphy, you have the floor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything else to add to what the fire chief has updated. As he mentioned about the face coverings, the town will still continue providing staff with masks when needed and all other COVID-19 safety protocols. We are encouraging physical distancing, sanitizing, and the regular cleaning of touch points will still remain in place. So there's also the new policy it's coming to council tonight in order to do the update with regards to the face mask. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you for that report. Is there any, I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that Council receive the COVID-19 update presentation from T. Quinlan Murphy, Chief Administrative Officer for Information. To you, Mr. Mayor, for any debate.
Any comments or questions to the acting CEO's report? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. The vote begins with Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart?
Yes.
Councillor Wink?
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt?
Yes.
Councillor Kaur?
Yes.
Mayor Junkin?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. To you, Mr. Mayor, that does bring us to the minutes. And I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Kaur, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. 1. RC-05/2022, Regular Council, March 7th, 2022. To you, Mr. Mayor, to call for any errors or omissions.
Thank you. And after viewing the minutes, does any council member have noted any errors or omissions in the minutes? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. The vote begins with Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. To you, Mr. Mayor, that brings us to item number 7 on the agenda. That's the request to lift items from the consent agenda. Councilors only need to lift an item should they wish to change the resolution attached thereto. If council members simply wish to speak to an item, there is no need to lift. I would just ask any members of council to identify any items they wish to lift.
Turning to council, does any council member wish to lift a consent item? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does bring us to the consent agenda itself. I have a motion put forth by Councillor Hildebrandt, seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that the consent agenda items as listed on the March 21st, 2022 council agenda be received and recommendations therein be contained be approved. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion on those items, would you like me to call them in categories?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. So the first item is with respect to staff reports of a routine nature or information or action.
Yes, I'm not seeing any.
Okay, the next is for information correspondence items.
Not seeing any. Oh, is that, I see Councillor Stewart.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, 8.5.3 about the police service fraud prevention. I just want to let everyone know that the Pelham Seniors Advisory Committee is going to be hosting a fraud seminar on May 11th at the MCC. They did this a couple of years ago and the speaker they had was amazing. It had exceptional turnout. They're hoping to do it in a hybrid version with people there in the room and then having it streamed through the other rooms in the building, and then people from home being able to view it as well. So everyone will have the option to see it and participate.
Excellent. And I was going to also comment on the 8.5.3. Great to hear that that is going to, presentation is going to be made to the seniors. And March is indeed Fraud Month. Fraud Prevention Month, I would think, and Niagara Regional Police is doing enhanced safety messaging, and we remind all citizens that if you have any questions at all about a phone call or what you perceive could possibly be a scam, the Niagara Regional Police Service is more than happy to answer your questions. So don't be afraid to give them a call. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes the categories. So you can call for any other comments, and I can call the vote.
Okay. Any other comments? One last time. Not seeing it, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. This vote will begin with Councillor Wink,
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt,
Yes.
Councillor Kaur,
Yes.
Councillor Olson,
Yes.
Councillor Stewart,
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. That does carry. That does bring us to our next item on the agenda, and this is a motion put forth by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Kaur. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2022-0068, Active Transportation Fund Grant Services, and that Council approve the grant application for the Active Transportation Fund. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Thank you. Any comments, discussion on 10.2.1 Active Transportation Fund Grant? I see Councillor Wink.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Just to update, it was mentioned in the staff report that the Pelham Active Transportation Committee was in support of this. Last week we had a transportation committee meeting, and this was on the agenda, and they were absolutely thrilled with these two projects that we're hopefully going to get, we're applying for grants. So they were all in favor of this particular grant. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I think any grant that can increase Councillor Hildebrand's cycling abilities is well received in the town. To you, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. And this vote begins with Councillor Hildebrandt,
Yes.
Councillor Kaur,
Yes.
Councillor Olson,
Yes.
Councillor Stewart,
Yes.
Councillor Wink,
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. That does bring you to your next staff report. And I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Kaur, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2022-0067, Information Technology Capital Fund Relocated, Corporate Services, and that Council approve the budget transfer of Information Technology Capital Funds to the various projects as listed in Appendix 1. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Thank you. Any comments, questions on this staff report? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The vote begins with Councillor Kaur,
Yes.
Councillor Olson,
Yes.
Councillor Stewart,
Yes.
Councillor Wink,
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt,
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Mr. Mayor, that brings you to your next item, which is a staff report, and I have a motion put forth by Councillor Hildebrandt, seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that Council receive memo 2022-0071, updated face coverings in enclosed public places policy for information, and that policy S600-40 face coverings in enclosed public places policy be approved as amended, and that Council repeal bylaw number 4361-2022 as amended, being a bylaw requiring the wearing of face coverings in enclosed public places within the town of Pelham. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion on this staff report? I believe not seeing any. I have one, and I don't know if this should go to the acting CAO or to the fire chief. The question is, I see that the recommendation has moved from a requirement to strongly encouraged for staff. I'm thinking of the staff at the MCC, and I do know I've talked to one or two of them today, and they anyway. The question is, if they do not wear their mask, and I'm talking staff, there's no disciplinary action. It is just strictly a recommendation, and if a staff member is comfortable not wearing a mask, then they do not need to wear one. Is that? Perhaps I'll ask the chief that. Chief Limburn, or is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we've change the policy to mirror the provincial mandate now, which is optional. We've used the wording strongly recommend, and that goes throughout the town. So employees that don't feel comfortable being maskless, you know, we're gonna have some people that wear them all the time. If you go into a meeting room with multiple people, you might feel more comfortable wearing them. So basically we're saying people, you don't have to wear them, but you know, you should be safe, be careful, and if the situation warrants, you should wear it. And we have plenty of PPE, lots of inventory, so there's never a shortage. So whatever your comfort level is.
Exactly, and I think that's the that's the big message that must be brought out to everyone, that whatever a person's comfort level is, that is what you should be continuing with. If you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, by all means, that's your right to do it. And if you choose not to wear a mask in most cases, then of course that's also your right now in the province. Okay, to you, Madam Clerk.
The vote for this begins with Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. That does bring you to the presentations and considerations of bylaws. And I have a motion put forth by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaws, do read a first, second, and third time and do pass same, and that the Mayor and Clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. 1. Bylaw 4436-2022, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 4068-2019 as amended, confirming various appointments to boards, commissions, and committees of the Town of Pelham, and to rename the Town of Pelham Library Board to the Lincoln Pelham Union Public Library Board, Schedule A, and to remove a member from the Lincoln Pelham Union Public Library Board, Schedule A, and to appoint and remove members from the Pelham Summerfest Committee, Schedule N, and to remove members from the Pelham Arts Advisory Committee, Schedule O. 2. Bylaw number 4437-2022, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 1136-1987 as amended for lands located on the east side of Pelham Street, north of Broad Street, legally described as Plan 25, Lot 6, NP 716 in the Town of Pelham. The zoning bylaw amendment rezones the lands from residential to R2, zone to site-specific residential 3, holding R3-313H zone, C and K Spears, file number AM 09-2021, bylaw number 4438-2022, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 1136-1987 as amended for lands located at 5464 68 Fillmore Boulevard, legally described as lots 101 to 103, 108 and 120 on Plan 59M 403 in the Town of Pelham. The zoning bylaw amendment rezones the lands from residential 1, 185B, R1, 185B, and residential 1, 187, R1, 187 zones to the site-specific residential 1, 314, R1, 314, and residential 1, 315, R1, 315 zones. Better Neighborhoods, Inc., file number AM 10-2021, for bylaw number 4439-2022, being a bylaw to appoint the Integrity Commissioner for the Town of Pelham and to set out the roles and responsibilities of the Integrity Commissioner. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Thank you. Any council member have any discussions or questions on any or all of these bylaws? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This vote begins with Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Mr. Mayor, that does bring us to our next item on the agenda, which is a resolution to move in camera. And I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Hildebrandt, seconded by Councillor Stewart. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public in order to consider a matter under Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act as follows. B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, and D, labor relations or employee negotiations. One item, committee appointment. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Okay, any discussion on the move to go in camera? See none, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The vote begins with Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That carries. If you can give me a few moments just to stop the streaming and the recording.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have confirmation that we are streaming, and I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Kaur, seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that Council adjourn the in-camera session and that Council do now rise with report. To you, Mr. Mayor, for any discussion.
Thank you. Any discussion by Council on this item? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The vote begins with Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Mr. Mayor, I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Olson and seconded by Councillor Kaur. Be it resolved that the Council receive the Pelham Summerfest Committee application from Len Doyle, and that Council hereby appoint Len Doyle to the Pelham Summerfest Committee, and that the appointment bylaw be presented at the next regular meeting of Council, being April 4th, 2022. To you, Mr. Mayor, for any discussion.
Thank you. Any discussion on the appointment? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The vote begins with Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Mr. Mayor, I do have a motion put forward by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Hildebrandt. Be it resolved that the Acting Chief Administrative Officer be and is hereby authorized to undertake the directions provided during the in-camera meeting of March 21st, 2022. To you, Mr. Mayor, for any comment.
Thank you. Any comment, discussion? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The vote begins with Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Mr. Mayor, you do have a motion put forth by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and passed, being a bylaw number 4440-2022, to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of Council of the Town of Pelham at its regular meeting held on the 21st day of March 2022. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Thank you. Any discussion on this bylaw? See none, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This vote begins with Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Mr. Mayor, I do have a motion which is put forth by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Stewart. Be it resolved that this regular meeting of Council be adjourned until the next regular meeting scheduled for April 4th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. The vote begins with Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrand.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
And that carries. Mr. Mayor, it is 6:19 and you can gavel out your meeting.
Thank you. Good evening, Council.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good night,
Hey, all.
everyone.